Good night, everybody. Or good evening. So, where the heck is Mrs. Johnson? She is somewhere past the wall of this office. Nope, she's right there.
Alright, get to reading.
I am her son, Tyler Johnson, joined by Kobe, the pugger. I am reading chapter 17 of The Missing Manatee. Without further ado, let's read. 17. Dirty Dan motioned slowly across the open stretch of water toward where I sat in my skiff, frozen with panic and a weird sense that this couldn't really be happening. It seemed to take hours for him to reach me, hours during which my mind scrambled frantically for a way out and came up with nothing. Dan cut the engine at the right moment to allow his boat to glide alongside mine. The silence was complete. There wasn't the squawk of a bird, the buzz of an insect, or the splash of a fish in the shallow water. It was as if Dan and I were alone at the end of the world. Atomic bombs flying everywhere. Finally he spoke. "Hello, Skeet." I didn't answer. My throat felt so dry, I wasn't sure I could. "You need to have a talk." I still couldn't answer. After a moment, he gestured toward the manatee tree. You couldn't let it go, could you? Had to keep after it." Then he nodded, saying, "I understand that. You're stubborn. It's the same stubbornness that made you keep trying until you caught that target." I got it too. He smiled at me, his scars stretching in his brown, leathery face, and he seemed so much like the old Dan I almost smiled back, caught myself and looked away. "But now we got ourselves a situation, Skeet, and one of us is going to have to give in. I came out here to see who is going to be, you or me." Last I found my voice, though it came out kind of small and croaky. "What if I don't give in? Are you going to kill me too?" Dan shook his head, and even though I knew better, I thought he looked genuinely sad. "I guess I can't blame you for thinking like that, Skeet, but it pains me all the same." He sighed. "Saw you talking to Blink this morning. He came home all nervous and upset again, and I knew I had to do something to stop all this. It didn't come to hurt you. It came so nobody and nothing else gets hurt." He pointed to the manatee and made a wiry face. "It's too late for him." "Yeah," I said. "Thanks to you. Now you want me to keep quiet about it, just so you don't have to answer for what you did? In a way, yes." Couldn't believe it. He sure had nerve. I had to give him credit for that. Dan went on, "Because, in a way, it really was my fault." "Oh, really?" I thought, almost letting a loose, wild laugh. "Next you're going to tell me that, in another way, it was the manatee's fault for getting in the path of the bullet you shot at him. I never should have let Blink shoot the gun." Dan said. "What? Blink? Gun? What?" But we were plenty far out in the boonies that morning. There was nobody else around. I thought, what harm could it do? He'd been after me for a long time to shoot the gun, saying he just wanted to try it, probably because of the things he sees on TV. Dan's voice trailed off for a second. Anyway, there was a few of Blinky's old tennis balls rolling at the bottom of the boat. So I told Blink I'd throw them out and he could shoot at them. I showed them the right way to hold the gun and how to work the safety. I told him never to point it at anyone. Told him he should shoot at 3 balls in water Just that one time, I said. Dan looked away, then back at me, and said, there are so many things he can't do, you know? I thought I could let him do this, let him feel like a regular kid for once. It seemed harmless enough at the time. Dan was quiet for a minute, and I thought I could see how letting Blink shoot at some tennis balls might have sounded like an okay idea. Then Dan said, so he was real careful and he shot at one, then another, missing, you know, but laughing and getting a big kick out of the noise and the splash and all. And then, just as I threw out the third ball, this manatee's head popped up of the water, and before I knew it, he shot it. Dan paused and shrugged. I didn't say a word. So caught up in the story, picturing it in my mind, the dopey manatee's head coming up and Blink, taken by surprise, pulling the trigger before he even knew what he was doing, hitting the manatee in the head. Echoing my thoughts, Dan said, I'm sure he didn't know what he was doing. At first he was excited because the manatee drifted over near the boat and he could touch it. He didn't understand why it wasn't moving. Oh, Kobe. He yawned. Mom's right there, sitting on a very uncomfortable chair.
Keep reading.
Alright. When I told him it was dead, he got all worked up. You know how he does, crying and all. I still don't know if he understands that he shot it. No, I thought, you can't ever be sure. Not with Blink. I didn't try to make him understand. It would only make him feel worse. Dan smiled weakly and said, I guess there's one good thing that came out of all this. He does not want to play the gun anymore. Yep. I think I might have smiled back. Anyway, I was telling myself that it was an unfortunate accident. But it was an accident, and I couldn't see any good coming from Blink being hauled in and questioned or whatever might happen to him. I knew Earl would be good to him, but what if it wasn't Earl I was dealing with? Then I thought about saying I shot it, but if I was hauled in, then where would Blink be? I'm all he's got. Yeah, I said, I know. Well, there's something you probably don't know, Skeet, that made a difference in all this. He took off his hat, brushed his hand through his sweaty hair, and put the cap back on. Got a little problem with Mr. Jack Daniels. First, I didn't know who he was talking about. Then I remembered. Jack Daniels' whiskey was his butterfly milk. Alcohol. Oh, I said, there was a time when I used to get blind, crazy drunk, get in fights, cause all kinds of trouble. I drove my wives away and got myself a record with the police. And one night I got in a car accident where I was drunk as a skunk. Blink was in the car with me and he got banged up pretty good, Dan paused and looked down at his hands. They almost took him away from me after that. Ever since then, I try to drink just enough to keep it together. Keep my hands from shaking, you know? I didn't know, and I swallowed, not sure what to say. I thought about Dan sipping on the bottle all day in the boat, but not seeming drunk. I guess that's what he meant. But I'll have to ask Mac or Meemaw about it. So anyway, when I heard a boat coming that morning, all that stuff ran in my head. I guess I panicked, thinking Blink would get in trouble for shooting the manatee, or else I'd be in trouble for letting him. Maybe they take him away from me for real this time. Maybe there'd be a hefty fine, and I don't have the money for that. If I couldn't pay, maybe I'd go to jail. My past record wouldn't help. Maybe, well, like I said, I panicked. I heard a boat coming. I pulled my boat up the side channel and hid real quick. Never imagined it'd be you, or that you'd find the body. But you did, and, well, here we are. Thought of Blink talking about how quiet he'd been in the boat. Now I knew he was talking about staying quiet while he and Dan hid from me. Piecing the rest together, I said, and then you went back and moved the body after I left to get Earl. Dan nodded. I didn't know for sure where you were going, if you'd be coming back. The way you were examining the head, I knew you figured out it was a shot. But Earl and I never saw you, I said. Then I realized, oh! You must have taken one of the smaller channels on the way back to the marina. That's why we didn't run into you on the river. He nodded again. Then neither of us said anything for a pretty long time. Thinking about what Mima had said that morning about life getting complicated, and it seemed as usual that she was right. 4 minutes, yikes. I was thinking about life giving you the down and dirty, never letting you go backwards, and how that didn't just mean that me and Mac and Mom, but Dirty Dan and Blink too. I was thinking too about parents loving their kids more than anything, and how that might make them do all sorts of things, like Dan hiding the manatee to protect Blink, or like Mom wanting real bad for me to have a life she thought would be better than hers, or like Mac moving to a trailer down the street so I wouldn't have to hear any more fighting. I was thinking that even though some people might say what Dirty Dan did was wrong, maybe there was another way to look at it. I figured he was simply being the best father to Blink he knew how to be. He wasn't perfect, but so what? I was beginning to realize that no one was. It's always making everybody into heroes or bad guys, but most people, even parents, were muddling around somewhere in the middle. Okay, I said to Dan. I give. He looked down at me, his scar stretching with his puzzled frown. I give, I repeated. You said one of us had to. He buried his face in his hands for a second, breathing a big sigh of relief, and only then did I realize how worried he'd been. He said, I was hoping if I'd explain, you'd understand. I do. He nodded, staring off in the distance for a moment. Then, his glance indicating the manatee, he asked, should we try to bury that thing? I looked up at the sky and pointed to the vultures, who were circling again, waiting. Let's leave it, I said. Vultures have to eat too, I guess. Mom, aka Miss Johnson, will be reading chapter 18 to you. Oh, wow, I got like 2 more minutes. So, yeah.
If you're all done, you can hit the stop button.
Alright, I was considering just like talking for a bit. So, first things first, you may notice I only have like 45 seconds left. These videos, the software that Mom is using only allows us to record for 15 minutes. And you didn't get a good look at them, but you may have if you've been following Mom's Among the Hidden.
They haven't, because that's for a different grade level.
Oh. But a good nickname for him is Snuggly, because, well, he's a good snuggle dog. Anyways, Mom will see you